Hey guys, so I'm here to do a review of Love and Death. You can find it on Max, starring Elizabeth Olsen. We know her as Wanda Maximoff from Marvel fame, from the hit show WandaVision, and tons of Marvel movies. She's done other work as well, but that's I think, her biggest claim to fame. This movie, Love and Death, is based off of a true story, also starring Jesse Plemons and Lily Rabe, based off the life of Candy and her husband Pat Montgomery and Betty and her husband Alan Gore. So this is a real story about, suburban life, a church-going family. So that definitely fits within our theme of faith, love, and trends. Love is in the title, but also death of this show. So, to me, honestly, I don't want to give a lot of spoilers away, but I know I'm going to give some away. So, just warning you in advance if you want to come back after you watch. But I get a little bit of the eyes of Tammy Faye. If you guys know the story of Tammy Faye, televangelist wife, and I get a little bit of Dahmer because of some of the main tragic content that this whole movie is based off of. But there's love affairs, cheating, a perfect little town, church-going people. You think that they're going to live a certain lifestyle, but they get into some things that they shouldn't get into. And in the end of it all, there is trouble. I'll just say that there is trouble. Okay, it's been streaming since April, which I didn't know had been streaming for so long. I recently just started hearing about it as they've been talking about reviews on some of the major news stations. So for me, it's kind of new for me, but I enjoyed the film. It's actually a series with 7 episodes. At the end, you get to see the real life people. I think Elizabeth Olsen did an amazing job playing Candy. The likenesses and everything are very similar to that of the real people. And I do wonder, how did she get some of her background information, like her accent and the way she talks? And I'm sure she probably did, because I'm looking at a little bit of the trailer now. And this was all over the news back in the 80s, I think early 80s. So I'm sure she saw some of her mannerisms and whatnot of this person. And Candy is still here today. There was a major trial involved. And let's just say people go free that doesn't seem like they should easily go free. But it also makes me think of the whole element of the affair, and that really triggered everything. And that just makes me think, if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. After the affair took place, I think that everyone was trying to make amends and do the right thing, but everyone didn't know about the affair, especially some of the main people that were in the relationships with these other people. So, one of the people involved, without me telling the whole story, basically, I think something breaks in them. They lose it and they react in a very astonishing way, which it all ends up. And then in return, the other person has to also act in an even more surprising way. And then it all ends up in a courtroom trial. And the trial, to me, seems like people got off that maybe shouldn't have gotten off. And I don't know, it could be the factor of race and color. It's a small town. Everyone's so-called church-going people. And I'm sure the jury was comprised of people near the town or around the town as well. So, to me, it's controversial, but it's a good watch. I see how people can feel in their marriages, relationships, and living in a small town and just going through the whole humdrum thing, and you just want to get out of that sameness. I can see that element. I love the music going. I love 80s music. So this was like the end of the 70s going to the 80s where this story takes place in real life. This is a true story. And it looks like the story on HBO Max, what they call it Max now, is true to form. Basically everything that we see without the extra dramatization really did happen. Without filling in the dramatized blanks, um, these things, it's a real story. But I like the music. I hear a lot of classic rock and some pop tunes, a little disco. It just kind of takes me back to a time a little bit before my time, um, in the 80s, where that music was popular. It just sets the tone and sets the vibe for the movie. And Candy's always in her car singing a song. So I just like that vibe and element, that lighthearted part of the story in the show. I don't know if that's really true to Candy's true life story, but it gives you a lighthearted part of the show in the middle of a lot of heavy things that are going on and happening. So, and it's definitely a lesson in it about how we conduct ourselves in relationships, how we live our lives, and how we choose to love one another. Again, it says love and death. And we don't really want those two words to be together, but it definitely tells the story of this real life story. And the ending to me was definitely a surprise ending. And I don't know if, in a way, I feel like the story that Candy tells about how the events took place, only two people know is her and the other person that was involved. No one else can really know. The courtroom and the lawyers can frame it the way that she said it went. You look at some of these people, they're somewhat, maybe semi or somewhat attractive. I think that really could influence the jury, that they're faith-going people, their racial profile, their backgrounds can definitely possibly influence a jury, definitely of their peers. So I feel like at the end of the day, I don't know if justice was really served in this real life story, and Candy may have contrived a story that may not have really been what it was. But if that truly was the story, either way, it's a compelling watch. And it's like Desperate Housewives, bad moms, take it to the next level. And what's that one that came on that people were really watching? Bad Girls, where the moms kind of get into some illegal things. So it kind of has a similar vibe as far as just the housewife not just being the simple, happy housewife, that there's some other layers and there's some darker things on not just Candy's side, but other sides and other people in the town and their friends. So, yeah, I thought it was a great watch. And something that, if you like Lifetime, which I've done a lot of Lifetime profiles, you're going to like this, but it takes it to a step up. The visual quality is a lot better. Definitely theater quality style of filming. It is on HBO, so, that's another level right there in itself. And I like the movie. I like the point. I like the moral to the story. I like the fact that this is a true story. And you never know who you're messing with at the end of the day. You may be playing with fire. You don't know how that person can come back on you and how you can get burned. So in this story, they were planning something that they should have been planning. They were planning to do something wrong and something that's, sinful. Something's against their belief as church-going people. So they already kind of set themselves up with this plan. And you really, again, don't know who you're messing with. And the ramifications of what that could look like and what that could be. You see people from the outside, again, all these people in this town. You think everything's cut and dry, face value. There's some darker undertones and darker things that are going on, and you kind of reap what you sow, just like the Bible says. And you really see that in this story. But then I also see some things that also I feel should have gone the other way, and things that weren't unfair, that were unfair. I feel like people got, during the case, she got off and she shouldn't have gotten off. So I've kind of told you a little bit too much there, but I did warn you there's a little bit of spoilers there. But it also makes me think about the justice system back in the late 70s, early 80s. Makes me think about racism. It makes me think about how people saw the world back then, and how a lot of people were separate. A lot of people were all in towns of their own colors, and there was probably little to no diversity. And the justice system reflected that. It just makes me think about so many different levels of that time, in that time. But it was very well dramatized. So what are you guys' thoughts? Did you see Love and Death, the 7-part series, Max original, and what were your thoughts on it? You guys can always connect with me. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com. This is Irene, bringing you faith, love, and trends.